Church mission trips are fun and rewarding experiences for both youth and adults, but what's involved in organizing a successful one? And how do you go about hosting other churches who come to your city for mission work? The folks at Fourth Presbyterian Church of Chicago know firsthand what it takes. This summer, they hosted 9 church groups from all over the country. Let's welcome Katie Patterson, Youth Mission Coordinator at Fourth Presbyterian Church. And we welcome Elena Van Stee, one of the church's interns from last summer. She's a Chicago native who is studying religion at Calvin College in Michigan. Thank you, Katie and Lena, for both joining us today and sharing a little bit more about this program. And maybe, Katie, you can start and tell us how Fourth Presbyterian is involved in hosting mission groups.
Thank you. We enjoy hosting groups from all over the country, being able to provide them experiences because of our partnerships with volunteer sites from all over Chicago area, having developed relationships with these places and being able to talk more depth into the issues of Chicago and being able to educate youth on what's going on in Chicago because we are a permanent stay here versus coming in and out each week like most mission trips do.
So what is the experience like? What do the youth groups get to do when they come here?
They stay at Fourth, sleep in Sunday school classrooms on cots, eat in our spare kitchen and dining room, and are just part of the church life throughout the week, as well as getting to go and volunteer in different neighborhoods of Chicago, work with day schools, urban farms, as well as shelters and food pantries, getting the full breadth and width of what urban ministry can mean.
Lena, tell me a little bit about your internship experience and why do you think folks are coming to Chicago to take part in this mission group?
So this was my first summer being at Fourth, and I got to experience this experience with fresh eyes, as the students did. And I think a lot of the allure of this specific program is that it's not just service and it's not just education. And so as we guide the students through a huge variety of neighborhoods and a huge variety of different nonprofit organizations, they're experiencing what's happening today and also looking into why that's happening and what's happened in the past.
Tell us a little bit of what kind of service projects the youth are involved with when they're here in Chicago.
So we try to expose the groups who are here to a variety of locations as well as a variety of kinds of organizations. So we take them up north past Howard and then we take them down to 65th. And a lot of our work is with different urban farms. We also work with a bunch of food providers. We work with A Just Harvest and with Inspiration Corporation. So there's working bikes, and they take in used bikes and use them for a huge variety of purposes. They have people who repair them and restore them and bring them to people who need transportation. We also have been with different housing providers. We've been up at the Howard Area Community Shelter and with Good News Partners. So we do try to show the groups who come that there are a variety of ways that people are already doing good work in the city.
And the youth get hands-on service work?
While they're at the sites, they often will get a tour and an explanation of the how and the why, and then they'll do some hands-on service.
And Katie, this is fairly new, right? 3 years old. Why is it working, or what is working for Fourth Presbyterian?
I think you hear a lot about Chicago in the news, about issues of gun violence, of homelessness, as well as segregation. And so groups that are looking for an urban experience are looking to stay at a place that is in a safer neighborhood. A lot of different organizations stay in other parts of Chicago, but being able to be downtown and in the heart, I think provides a very interesting parallel between some of the neighborhoods that they're serving and then going back and being on the north end of Michigan Avenue and seeing the shopping of all the things you never knew you needed really provides an interesting experience for the youth and a great discussion board. Looking at the contrast between people's experiences when they come as a tourist in Chicago and are going to the Bean, going to Navy Pier, going up to Sears Tower, but not really leaving the downtown loop area of Chicago versus going to places like Humboldt Park and Pilsen and Woodlawn and getting to see people who haven't been out of those areas of Chicago as well, and being a bridge to those areas, or particularly people who are living in those areas who've never been to Charleston, South Carolina, or any of the places where our students are coming from, and just being able to create those connections is a powerful experience.
And Alina, tell me a little bit about some of the youth you met this summer. What were their experiences like? What kind of feedback did they give you?
That's a good question. There were students with really diverse experiences, I'd say. There were some students who were visiting neighborhoods and confronting the problems of homelessness and food scarcity, and really identifying with those, having experienced those situations themselves. And there were other students who had complete culture shock when they encountered a lot of the neighborhoods that we went to. And I think my favorite thing about working with the students was seeing the students whose assumptions about maybe the way people are, the way cities are, were challenged. And then that those students responded not defensively, but wanting to learn truth and to see things from a new point of view. That was really rewarding for me to work with them and see that.
Right. And Katie, what would you tell other churches that are trying to host mission groups? What makes it work?
Making sure that you already have partnerships and relationships with different organizations is, I think, the most important, because having valuable relationships with the different partners and being a more constant presence with those organizations really helps to strengthen the experience that then the youth have.
Do you have one goal or one takeaway you hope that the participants or the volunteers leave with?
I don't know that it's a specific one thing, because each person is different and they're going to take something different out of it. One of the things we really try and make sure is that there's a great variety, because we all have different talents and ways that we can serve God, and each one of us is just as necessary as the next to make that happen. So the goal is to make sure that the youth and the adult leaders get the opportunity to be exposed to an experience that helps them to realize that they actually can make a difference. Because so often when we hear about these big picture issues of racism and violence, what can one person do? And making sure that they know that there is something that they can do on an individual level, building relationships or whatever it may be, that they can continue that, not just when they're here in Chicago, but when they go home.
What was your takeaway from helping with this program over the summer?
I think I really benefited from the opportunities to have conversations with so many people, with the students, and talking about what they'd experienced, but also talking to the people who were working in those nonprofits every day and the people who were being served by them every day. And I guess my takeaway would be a lot of the insight that I've gained from having conversations about the way that those people experience Chicago and experience help from the government, experience help from nonprofits, and experience the people in the community that they're living in.
Mm-hmm. And you said you volunteered a little bit on mission trips when you were a youth.
Right.
How is this experience different, do you think?
I think the biggest difference would be that the Urban Youth Mission, this program at Fourth, focuses on the city as a whole, and it places a lot of emphasis on context and location and history. And so when I would go on mission trips in the past, many of the service aspects were the same and the individual interpersonal relationships, but I never got a good understanding of the place I was in when I was on those trips. So that would be the biggest difference, that we try to expose the students who are here in Chicago to the reality of the whole city and the history of the city as well.
Right. And Katie, so if youth mission groups are interested in coming and being a part of this maybe next summer, how do they go about contacting you or getting involved?
Encouraged to check out our website, www.urbanyouthmission.org. There's registration forms online, as well as my email and phone number, and by all means call me and we'll start talking about how we can personalize the trip to make sure that their youth get the most out of the experience, as well as helping them to understand what all we have to offer.
Great. Katie and Alina, thank you so much for sharing more information on this program. I'm Anne Marie Gerhardt for Different Drummers and the Greater Chicago Broadcast Ministries. Keep the faith.